Hello! So I just watched a movie called Gnome Alone. I first encountered Gnome Alone when I was looking for movies to predict the Rotten Tomatoes score of back at the start of this year. So this was back in around January, and I only thought it was of note because Gnome Alone was coming out, and it was coming out at a very similar time to Sherlock Gnomes, and I thought, what are the chances of two gnome pun movies coming out at the same time? Apparently not that great, because Gnome Alone never came out until now. It got announced back in 2017, like early start of the year, and was meant to come out at the start of 2018, and it did come out in Russia, which is a bit weird because it was a US movie. The rights got bought by Netflix, and it came out on the 19th of October on US and UK Netflix, I think. I've just been like intrigued about this movie for a while, so I finally watched it, and I can tell you it's got gnomes in. That you can't deny that. It's a fairly average kids movie. There's like a minor bit of like horror, like you know the kind of movie where it's like if you're a kid it might be quite scary, and there's like a couple little bits where they like sneak that in. There is a weird undertone throughout the whole film, and it kind of seems like the message of the movie is phones are bad. Not really what I was expecting from the movie Gnome Alone. So basically, the main character is Chloe, and she has just moved into a new house with her mum. Her mum has to go to work all the time, and she's often travelling about, so Chloe is often home alone, and when the house is full of gnomes, she is gnome alone, I suppose. She moves into this new house, and she finds a secret room in the attic with a glowy stone, and so she takes this glowy stone, turns it into a necklace, and then when she starts a new school, she meets some people, and one of them's like, oh hey, can I borrow your necklace? I want to wear it to the dance that's coming up, or something like that. And she's like, oh yeah, sure, I just made this thing this morning. And then when she gets back home, all the gnomes have come to life, and there are nasty orbs infesting her house called trogs. They look like grapes with arms and legs, and the stone that was in the attic was the only thing keeping these trogs from appearing. So that's like the basic premise. So now Chloe has to get back the keystone to stop the trogs. She makes a new friend along the way. His name is Liam. He's a really weird dude, and he lives next door. I've got like a few problems with the movie, which is that's really surprising that this kids movie has some stuff in it that's not so great. So my first problem is the kind of like unnecessary phones are bad kind of thing that they've got going on. The second thing wrong with it, the movie takes a side of the nerdy boy next door over some of the other characters in the film, even though he's kind of just as bad at the start. And I guess I'll talk about those two things. So the phones thing is just weird. It's a movie about gnomes, obviously. Do we need a phone storyline? Probably not, but we're getting one. Chloe is on her phone all the time. At one point, the trog eats her phone, and this is the thing that makes her like want to help the gnomes out, because she wants to get her phone back. Sure, phones are important to kids, but like I don't think they're like this weird about it. I don't know. It just seems like the movie might have been written by someone who was like maybe a little bit older, and they share those posts on Facebook that old people share. It's like, oh, kids always looking at their phones. Oh, it's unnecessary, and it doesn't really go anywhere either. In the end, to stop the bad guys, the phone is kind of what does it, but it requires you to like lose your phone to stop the bad guys. Like she has to take her battery out of the phone and basically make a bomb, and that's what stops the bad guys, which is a bit weird. So Liam is the neighbor in the movie. He's kind of like the archetypical nice guy, but also like the bad parts of like nice guys. So you see them on the internet and it's like the kind of guy who's like, oh, why would you want to date a big buff idiot when you could date me? I'm a really nice guy. I'm like a sensitive nerd, and it's like a bad thing, but he's displaying some of that pretty strongly. I don't know if this was done on purpose. Throughout the film, he's shown as being in the right, but also he like displays some of these like worse parts of the nice guy persona. So he's basically a non-character. There's a guy called Trey, and he is like the hot guy that the main character lusts after, the unattainable guy, but then he turns out to be like not so good, except they do it in like the shallowest possible way. So they introduce us to him in one scene, and he says like one line of dialogue, because he's playing basketball, and the ball goes over to Chloe, our main character, and he's like, can I have the ball back? And she like shoots it into the basketball hoop, and everyone's like, oh, she's good at basketball, which never comes up again in the film. Because the film doesn't have enough time, and it's setting up too many things that it can't do anything with. So this guy turns up maybe like 5 or 10 minutes in. Later in the movie, Chloe and Liam fall out, and Liam says, is this about Trey? And I'm watching the movie thinking, who? Oh, that guy who turned up and said one line of dialogue. And it's just kind of like, why are you so obsessed with this guy we've only just met, Liam? It's a bit weird. Why do you think you're better than this guy that we don't know anything about? He likes playing basketball. At least he's got a hobby. Then Trey turns up later in his only other appearance in the film, and he's talking to Chloe at the big dance. In high school movies, there's always got to be a big dance that they're all going to. He's talking to her at the dance, and Chloe says, oh, your name is Trey. It must be French. Trey means very, and he's like, oh, I don't speak French, but I like French fries and French toast. I like food in general. And it's like, Trey's an awkward guy. I can relate to this. Trey, the shallowest, most relatable character in the film. But that's it for him. He never turns up again. He was not important. I guess he turned up just for Liam to be mad at. We've not met any of these characters, and Liam is the one who's like, oh, you don't want to be friends with Brittany and her cronies, who are obviously the mean girls from the movie Mean Girls, but Chloe's not met them before. I don't know if Mean Girls exists in the Gnome Alone cinematic universe. She might not be prepared for this. Someone telling you not to be friends with some like random people who you've never met. It's a bit weird, Liam, I'll be honest. And he's coming on a bit strong in the film. Like, he's constantly bugging Chloe, and it's like, you need to stay in your lane, buddy. I've like not mentioned the gnomes in the film at all. There's like 7 gnomes in the film, and I don't know any of their names. Oh, actually, I know one of their names. One of them is called Zamfir, and he is the gnome that doesn't show up until the last 20 minutes of movies. But he's the only one whose name they like consistently mention. And I've just looked up the names of the other gnomes, and they are just the worst names. So they obviously tried really hard coming up with the names, and didn't stop after they came up with 4 or anything. So there's Zamfir, there is Quicksilver, who is the old man, who we get some good old man jokes with. There is Zook, I don't know. But 3 of them are called Alpha, Bravo, and Charlie. They just gave all the way up. We've got 5 minutes to come up with all the gnome names. First 3 words of the NATO phonetic alphabet. Nice going, Gnome Alone. You really knocked it out of the park there. I mean, the main thing to say about Gnome Alone is that I laughed maybe twice, and the whole movie was pretty boring. I am a 23-year-old man. This movie is not made for me. I would guess if you're watching this, probably not aimed at you either, but you might enjoy it if you're a bit younger. Like, there's some fun stuff in there. It's got some like regular high school stuff that's in every high school movie. I don't know, it's just mainly like kind of bland. I shouldn't have hyped up Gnome Alone for myself. All this year, just been so excited to watch Gnome Alone. And now I finally watched it, and it was not very interesting at all. It's a bit of a meh, because this is now my Halloween video. I thought it would be a bit like more spooky themed than it was. And it had a promising start as well. They move into this new house, and it's the creepiest house you've ever seen. And then they kind of drop it within like 10 minutes, and she loves the house. And those are like the only spooky bits of the film. Like when they enter the house and there's just like gnomes everywhere. They're like, why are all these gnomes here? Actually, something that really annoyed me, she didn't know what a gnome was. Like a garden gnome. She keeps calling them tiny Santas. What? Everyone knows what a gnome is, surely. With the dirge of gnome-related movies, I mean, Romeo and Juliet and Sherlock Gnomes, everyone must surely know what a gnome is. But she's like, all these little dwarves, all these elves. What? It's a gnome, you chump. So there you have it. Gnome Alone, it's on Netflix now. Go watch it. Or don't. It's actually not worth it at all. Go like and subscribe to someone else's channel. I'm kidding, do it on mine. And go to my friend Will's channel. I'll put a link here. We've been playing video games together, and it's a really fun time. Go watch us play Mario. Bye.